Hi, Jon. How are you doing?
Doing great, Elle. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Would you like to share with our audience a little bit about who you are and your role at Bluebird?
Yes, my name's Jon Lambert. I'm Associate Creative Director at Bluebird.
And I'm Elle Rushby, Marketing Specialist and Brand Manager here at Bluebird. Let's dive in. So I really want to get inside the head of a designer, a graphic designer, someone who deals with the creation of brands look and feel on a daily basis. So when you look at a brand for the first time, when they first come through our doors, what are you scanning for as a designer?
That's a great question. So I think I do things a little differently, because if a brand comes through the doors, it's broken. It's not working. So if a client comes to us, it's because they need to make a change to what their branding is doing wrong or isn't doing right. So it's a little bit different than just being out in the wild and taking in brands, because I'm looking for successful brands out there. I'm looking for the success stories and the things that resonate with me, because I'm paying particular attention to strategically, how are they connecting with me? How are they successfully building that brand image? Because it's all done with intentionality. And I try to reverse engineer it, because I want to learn and grow my skill set. So if it's successful, if it's resonating with me, then I start to ask those questions and unpick it and find out, how have they done this? How are they making me align with them? How are they pulling on those strings of things that matter to me? How are they using language that's resonating with me? How are the images evoking the feelings and emotions that they are? Because when it's done right, it's so powerful, isn't it? That's what I do. I try to reverse engineer brands. And I don't think people generally do this. I think that brand strategists, brand designers, that we have trained ourselves to have a little bit of a different perspective on branding as a whole, as a profession.
There's a common misconception in people who observe our industry that think branding is all about the look. Is it shiny? Is it glossy? Is it resonating in terms of particular trends? They sometimes look at a brand and think, oh, that makes me feel a certain type of way that aligns with their product or service, which is great. But what people don't really acknowledge is that majority of the time, all of that look and feel is based on a foundation of brand strategy. And so my next question to you would be, how does brand strategy shape your early design thinking? You know, you mentioned there that you reverse engineer, and obviously what we do at Bluebird, we do a lot of executive interviews to really try and get into the bones of a brand when they first come to us. How do you begin to translate all of that into something like brand values into visual direction?
Yeah, so good brand strategy makes all the difference when it comes to creative, because good brand strategy will already carry with it the essence of the desired image and message and story that we're trying to project out into the world. So good brand strategy will carry with it momentum that the designer can launch off of. And the opposite is true. If brand strategy is lacking, it's incredibly difficult to conjure up creativity where there's the lack of understanding, a lack of purpose, positioning. Unfortunately, I've been in that situation before. That's when it becomes all too easy to rely on, trends and design for aesthetics' sake alone. So you're set up for failure if you're not squared up with good brand strategy to begin with. So when design begins, that momentum is already there. And the best brands, I think, they show some continuity between the story and the verbal language, and then the aesthetic and the design. They actually need to amplify each other. Not even just the line, they need to bounce back and forth off of each other to paint a full picture holistically.
I like that you were talking about amplification and not just being aligned across touch points. And this is another reason why marketing and branding work so intrinsically together. They are so connected. Every single channel that your brand touches has to sound the same, but they have to support each other at the time.
Right.
That's such an important point. I don't think a lot of particularly early brands or even legacy brands, because like we've come a long way in terms of, like, we live in a world of AI now.
Right. Things can look amazing. The standard and the quality of like finish and visual presentation of things has come leaps and bounds in the last decade. And so things can look really good without having a backbone of intentional, target purpose.
Absolutely. You need to have that. Otherwise, it's just a pretty face in a marketplace.
Right.
And it doesn't really generate the goal that you want to achieve, whether that's more awareness of your brand, whether that is more sales in a year for your product, whether that is more wins if you're a construction company and your proposal doesn't quite match the level of your website, for instance. If there is that disconnect, you're designing for very different audiences all at the same time. From a Gen Z podcast host to senior construction executives, how do you shift gears so comfortably between clients? And what helps you get inside the heads of such different brand cultures?
One thing I've been thinking about is nature versus nurture. So nature would, for the designer, it would be that creative ability, natural talent. That gives you a certain level of ability to jump between project to project. Like you said, very different kinds of clients. But more than that, I think the nurture piece, which is the training, the experience, I think that is what really makes it more possible. And that just comes with time. It takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. In like a regular 9 to 5, that's about 5 years of working on branding alone. And most designers don't just sit there creating brands for 40 hours a week. It's a mixture of campaign work and other production work and meetings and so on and so forth. So it takes a long time to become expert, but it does get easier. And the one thing I've learned is to listen to myself, to observe how my workflow is going. Am I in that creative sweet spot? Is it flowing or not? Because if it's not, it can help to step away. It can help to take a short break, engage your mind in something else and come back. And then other times I've found I might even need to replan my day, my schedule. If I assigned a certain amount of time to work on a specific client and it's just not flowing, I might shuffle things around. If another project is calling, because we do enjoy what we do very much, and sometimes you just need to, if possible, reschedule and work on what you're feeling in the moment, because creativity is an emotional process.
That's really good advice to fellow designers who are perhaps maybe just starting out in their career. We go through years of school and college and everything's quite logical, using I think it's the left hand side of the brain, which is logic. I could be very much wrong, but let's say it is for fun.
One of the sides,
Yeah, one of the two sides of your brain, and it's very much that one track road of thinking. And if you are in college and you're majoring in this particular field, in this creative field, I guess, it does kind of expand your mind, but it's only when you put theory into practice that you do kind of learn that it is an emotional rhythm that you have to follow, as well as meeting deadlines.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a very fine balance.
It is. And sometimes just a cup of tea is you just need a cup of tea.
You just need a brew.
Yeah. Oftentimes, actually.
Oftentimes, yes. To our lovely American viewers watching, yes, don't adjust your speakers. We are both British and we do love a cup of tea. My final question, Jon, I'd love to know about a particular project in your career so far that has surprised you. Maybe the final outcome looked nothing like the initial concepts, but it transformed into something really powerful. I'd love to hear about that.
Okay, yeah, actually quite often the initial concepts, the end product is considerably different. I think that's a marker of a good creative journey and good process. but one that sticks out in my mind specifically is Landmark Tower in St. Paul, Minnesota. It's a 1980s office building that's been repurposed and developed into luxury apartments. I was tasked with branding Landmark Tower as such, and the client wanted to keep the 1980s appeal and charm and the truth of what the building looks like and the era in which it was built, but blend that with luxury because of luxury apartments. And if you know 1980s design, you know that luxury is not really the first thing that springs to mind with 1980s looking design. That was a really interesting kind of juxtaposition in my mind. So, and a challenging one. My process there was to start with mood boards, a mood board with the client that struck a chord with what they were developing for the interior design, plus the bones and the natural beauty of the building itself, and then how that could translate into luxury. And that really created some interesting avenues to explore. The end result of logo and brand for Landmark Towers in St. Paul is an example that I'm proud of, that really met the brief and I think will live on for a long time.
Well, thank you so much, Jon, for chatting with me today. It's great to get into the head of a designer and just share that creative flair that we have in-house at Bluebird, and we're very lucky to have that. So thank you.
Thanks, Elle. That was fun.